Hello. Welcome to today's episode, which is about current crude oil crisis in Kenya. With the current crude oil crisis, Kenya is facing a great economic challenge. The government of Kenya, in collaboration with other organizations, has come up with several strategies to deal with this challenge and ensure continued economic growth. It is important that the government of Kenya formulates a contingency plan in case of any interruptions or shortages in the supply to the country. A plan to keep Kenya running if crude oil prices continue to rise. The plan arises from current country crude oil crisis in the country. Kenya's economy depends on oil. We import 100% of our oil, and it's used in everything from making electricity to growing food. We cannot survive without oil, so we must prepare for any possibility, including the possibility that the world could run out of it as the current situation. The crude oil crisis has forced the government to reevaluate many of its strategies and policies. The effects on our economy have been devastating, and we need to take immediate action in order to recover. The plan is based on 4 pillars. 1. Reducing subsidies to the oil and gas sector. It will subsidize the production and use of solar panels for all individuals and businesses within Kenya. We will also partner with local governments to provide tax breaks to companies that purchase solar panels or other alternative energy sources, such as wind power. Diversification of energy sources will reduce reliance on petrol and diesel fuels. In addition, we are providing incentives for companies to switch their transportation fleets from gasoline-powered vehicles to electric vehicles or other alternative fuel sources such as propane or hydrogen. We feel that these steps will help mitigate the effects of a severe crude oil shortage or crisis. 2. Implementing fiscal stimulus measures to promote growth and employment. The strategy involves looking for new markets for our products. In recent years, we have been exporting more than importing goods from other countries because we are able to produce more than we consume internally. However, this means that if there are any changes in demand or supply, then we need to find other markets outside of our current ones so that we can continue selling them at competitive prices without having too much impact on domestic production levels, which would otherwise result in higher prices. This strategy also helps reduce vulnerability because there would be less risk associated with relying solely on one source for all of your needs. That is, if something happens to that source, then you're left without any options. Since we are already an energy-efficient country, this won't hurt us too much. It just means some buildings will have backup generators instead of being powered by electricity all the time, or that people might drive their cars a little less often, which is good for their health anyway. 3. Increasing domestic supply through supporting the exploration and production of shale gas reserves. Another way is by supporting homegrown alternatives such as ethanol and biogas. The government will invest more in renewable energy sources like wind power and solar power, things that don't depend on fossil fuels. This will help us both now and in the future when there may not be any more oil left at all anymore if everyone keeps using it up so quickly without replacing what they've used up again with new stuff coming out. This will help reduce our dependence on oil imports and therefore make the country less vulnerable to fluctuating prices. 4. Increasing domestic supply through supporting the exploration and production of offshore oil reserves. The plan also includes an assessment of the impact that a crisis in the price of crude oil may have on Kenya's economy, as well as an analysis of how to mitigate this impact and what actions should be taken in order to do so effectively. The government of Kenya acknowledges the extreme volatility of the crude oil market, and as such has put together a contingency plan to ensure that our country's energy needs are met in the event of a severe crisis. There are several factors we must consider during this time: the economy, the environment, and the people of Kenya. We intend to create a plan that will minimize these negative effects while holding on to our promise implement the Big Four agenda to all Kenyans, which includes energy. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share.